Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Be Determined. Today's video is a guide on the living cave, which is a very cool area. There's some really cool concepts here that I don't think have been explored in Minecraft, period. But it can get a little bit confusing, so we're going to go over everything today. So if this is helpful or if you end up enjoying, be sure to leave a like and sub if you haven't already, and let's jump straight into it. So the closest section to the living cave is going to be the plaza. So if you've watched the previous videos, you should have this teleport to the bankster. So be sure to teleport here, and then you can just jump across, and we will have to get through the red light, green light section so that we can get over to the living cave right over there. So you're just going to make sure that you don't get caught. And of course, using aspect of the leech to teleport through faster is very nice, but there is a 5-minute rift time cost to enter the living cave, so you are going to need a bit of rift time. And there is this little secret about the cave. The rift area living cave requires intangibility to enter, so hopefully in the future this will actually exist. Currently I don't believe this exists, because that would be really nice to be able to just teleport to the Baba Yaga and then just walk straight in, but unfortunately that's not how it works. Anyways, the first guys that you're going to notice here are these auto nulls. So they don't really have too much special stuff about them. They don't drop a crux, which is pretty convenient, but you do have to break these glass blocks that they spawn before you can hit them. Otherwise, they will not be able to be hit. So if I go up to this guy, let him spawn the glass blocks, and then I try to hit him, it will say defense blocks are making this mob invulnerable. So you have to break all of these glass blocks with particles around them, and then you can beat them up. And once you have killed them, they will drop these nullified metals, which you can use to make self-recursive pickaxe, which allows you to break living metal ore and potentially living metal face. So you will need one of these for the next part of this area, and if you ever want to come back to this area, you're going to need one of these, because later on in Vampire Slayer you will upgrade to a karambit. But if you come back to the living cave and decide that you need some living ores, then you are going to need a self-recursive pickaxe. So you can't downgrade, so you're just going to have to re-upgrade all the way back to this one. But you can make this with either a leech sword or a tactician's murder weapon. So if you haven't done the tactician reverse murder quest from the plaza, you can just use a leech sword. And that's also helpful for whenever you are upgrading back to this pickaxe after you've done the Vampire Slayer section. But after you've gotten your hands on the pickaxe, you can start breaking living metal ore, which is these lapis blocks around here. So you'll notice once I break the one block, it is going to teleport to the next section, and I have a couple seconds to break it before it will be gone. So if I don't break it in that period of time, I'm going to get a lot less blocks. So if I fail to break it, then I get one living metal, which is an okay strategy, because it doesn't matter how many you break out of the first 10. If you just break the first one and then stop, you get the one living metal. But if you can make it all the way up to a chain of 40, then you're gonna get a lot of living metal. So after you make it up to the chain of 2, you're gonna get an increase of living metal. After you get up to a chain of 3, which by 2 and 3 I mean you complete the 10 chains and it goes up to 2x, and then the next one you get, it will go up to 3x and then 4x. And if you complete the 10 out of 10 for the 4x, then you're gonna get a very large chunk of living metal. So I do recommend trying to go for that. And what really helps with this is making sure that you don't go for ones that are close to the roof like I did a minute ago. Then it becomes quite a bit of a pain, because sometimes they'll teleport out of your reach and there's like nothing you can do about it. It'll just run out of time, and that's especially frustrating if you've gone all the way up to the 4 chain and then stop. But as you can see, once you complete the 4 chain, you get 20 total living metal, and this is very, very useful. So you use living metal to make boot spawn, chest spawn, pant spawn, cap spawn, and eventually a living metal anchor with living metal hearts, but we'll get to that later on. But basically there are 2 different sections of the living metal cave. So we are in the top section, but you can see down here there is a geyser located at 16, 68, -200 that you can drop down. But if you try and drop down without a full setup, then you will get frostbite and start losing time rapidly. I'm losing over a minute at a time, and then you have to teleport back up because the living stillness will be applying frostbite. So to avoid getting frostbite, so you can stay down there a little bit longer and get some things done, you'll need to use these boot spawn, as well as the chest spawns, the pant spawns, and the cap spawn. And that's because to get down in the lower section, you will need 100% living metal to get the full set bonus living metal suit that lets you survive the frostbite of the living stillness. Now, it doesn't have to be on the highest level of armor like I've got. You can use it on literally wild boots if you want to, but you just need to be wearing the piece that you are going to be upgrading, and then take the spawn piece of whichever armor piece you're going for, which you will need the full set bonus, so you've got to max out all of the set, and then you can spawn in the auto boots, auto chest, auto legs, all of that stuff, and you're basically just going to hit it until it spawns in these diamond blocks, which you will need a pickaxe to break, and you have to stand on the particles on top of the block to be able to break it. If I try and break it from over here, it's not going to work, so I have to break it from on top of the block, and then you can smack it and it will drop the boots right here, which you can right click and it will say your wild boots gained 16% juice, and they'll upgrade in 84%. So the percentage is random, and it will be anywhere between 9 and 19%. So at the most, if you're super unlucky, for each armor piece you'll have to do 12 of the spawns, but that is if you're the most unlucky you can possibly be. If you're the luckiest you can possibly be, then you can get a full meter within 6 spawns, and those guys do hit pretty hard, so every time they hit you, you're gonna lose like 18 seconds of rift time, so you got to be pretty careful. Make sure you spawn them somewhere that is easy to kill them. I know the spot that a lot of people use is right up here in this corner. You just spawn them right here and then smack them a little bit in this corner, and then they'll throw out the block, which this guy only threw out one, so that's pretty lucky for me, and you can destroy it and then kill them. So generally you want to have them backed into a corner and give yourself a lot of space to be able to break the blocks. Each different spawn does have a different type of block or a different order of block. So the boots are kind of random like we saw earlier, and then occasionally you'll get blocks like this that happen. I can't stand under it and I can't stand on top of it, so I don't know what it wants me to do. That one's kind of a lost cause, but apparently that can happen. That's the first time that's happened to me, and again, I have full meter on everything, so kind of strange, but we'll try it somewhere else this time. You don't want to be around a lot of auto nulls, because once you start fighting this guy, the auto nulls will aggro on you, and it gets very frustrating because you'll be fighting them at the same time you're fighting this guy. But as you can see, these blocks will spawn right next to each other in a 2x2 square, and then you can finish off the pants. So the boots are random, pants are in a 2x2 square like that. Chest plate is in a nice little box just like this, and you don't actually stand on top of it for this one. This one you stand in the middle of the block, and then you can break them. But again, these guys are extremely annoying. You can KB them even whenever they have the protective blocks around them, but still it gets ridiculously frustrating if you have a bunch of auto nulls around you while you're trying to take care of the auto chest plate. So again, I recommend spawning it up here in the front where there's not a ton of auto nulls. But that's how the chest plate one worked. Finally, the cap spawn, and you have to go underneath his block, so you've got to just stand beneath the blocks to be able to get him, and every time you break one of the blocks he takes a little bit of KB, so you should get enough time to be able to break all of his blocks, and that works for every single one of those mobs as well. So you'll see whenever I break the blocks, this guy takes KB from those white particles traveling to him. It works like that for all of the auto mob. But once you have the full living metal setup, you can finally travel down here into lower areas of the living cave, the living stillness. So this is where the snakes are at least the slower snakes. The ones upstairs move quite a bit faster, so these guys are a little bit easier to catch, but you will have to catch them with some special items that we'll go over right now. So the first thing you'll notice is these frozels. Now their thing is that they drop the frosty cruxes, which you can use to make the living time charm with some living metal and the frosty crux. That's how you get the time charm. You can also use 24 of them to upgrade to the crux heirloom. You can also use them for the Polar Void Book, which is a mining speed / breaking power upgrade to drills. So pretty nice, but again, you need living metal hearts. So how do we get living metal heart? Well, you'll notice that the ice up top here you can break, but it doesn't really drop anything. That's different for the ice down below. If you break this ice, the packed ice, the regular ice, it is going to drop frozen water, which you can then use to craft the frozen water punji. You will need 2 stacks of frozen water plus 8 nullified metal, but you can make this frozen water punji, which is used to grind living metal snake. Now, living metal snakes are pretty difficult. Again, you do need a pickaxe to grind them, but you're basically going to find a snake that's close to the ground. You want to have the whole thing close to the ground so it will be easy to finish off, and then you just aim this punji at it, hold right click, and it will freeze it in place. Now it's only going to be frozen in place while you have this music aimed at it, and for about a second afterwards. And you will notice sometimes they are pretty hard to tell where the tail is at. So they do circular motions like this and it's hard to tell where the tail is, but we'll try right here. Yep, we were right. And if I stop doing the music and try and break 2 blocks, it's going to be moving around again. So what I recommend if you're doing this solo, then just right click, break 1, right click, break 2, right click, break 3, right click, break 4. But you'll notice if I try and do this with a sword, it's not going to work. So you do have to have a pickaxe for that. And again, what I do recommend is having a friend for this one. This one is extremely difficult to do by yourself, so I do recommend getting a friend. It's not horrible to do by yourself. I may have exaggerated a second ago, but it is definitely easier to do if you have somebody to help you with it, because they can just hold down the frozen water punji and just make the snake sit still while you mine it, and you will both receive the living metal heart from destroying the head. So it's not like only the person mining gets to get the drops. The person who is holding the music out and making sure the snake sits still will also get drops. But if you haven't figured it out, living metal hearts are dropped from the snakes. So you have to break all the way up to the head. If you try and start with the head, then it will say that's the head of the snake. If you try and break with the body, you have to start with the tail. So you've got to find the tail of the snake and start working your way forward. Again, I do recommend doing it like this. So just right click with the punji and then swap to the pickaxe until you've gotten the full living metal heart. And the living metal hearts do have their own collection. So it goes all the way up to 100. But at collection 1, you unlock the snake in a boot, which you need 15 to upgrade the comfy sneakers to the snake in a boot, which is the top tier of the boot. As far as the current state of the game is concerned, this is the best boots in the Rift. At level 2, you will unlock the living metal anchor, which you will need to be able to get the Reed's boat completed. This is the 4th piece in Reed's boat over in the Black Lagoon, so you will have to craft one of these for that. Then there's the Bluetooth ring, which you do need a half stack of living metal hearts for, and this is Rift transferable, so it's useful in the main world as well, but getting one of these in this world is very nice too. And they go for 3 mil in the main world. So if you don't want to grind these out yourself, feel free to buy one. And finally, there's the Polar Void book, which we went over earlier, an upgrade for drills. Now, I told you how to get Frosty Cruxes. I didn't really go over the actual fight with the frozen Cruxes though. So the Frozels here, you will just hit them a few times and they will shoot that ice at you. That does 4 seconds per bolt, and then they'll freeze like this. So if you try and use a pickaxe on these, it is a little bit slower. So I do recommend just using a sword and breaking the ice, and then you can beat it up. Or even if you don't have a sword, you can just use your aspect of the leech and break all of the ice. It'll break just as soon as you're looking at it pretty much. But for some reason, using a recursive pickaxe makes it a bit slower, but that will be useful to get these guys down and out, because if they do blow up, you'll see whenever they freeze, they have a boom in ever how many seconds. And even if I run all the way over here, you'll notice I lost 3 minutes from the ice boom. So you want to make sure that you can take these guys down. That ice boom, 3 minutes lost, is very frustrating. Now there are a couple more things in the living cave you need to know about. First off, there are actually 2 Enigma souls here plus a Montezuma soul. So Montezuma soul is going to be back behind this section. You're going to see some particles in the snow that are a little weird right here. It'll be next to this rock that says my life goal is to kill 2 birds, but the exact location of the block is 2245 -219. So you'll see this block, you can break it, and then underneath is Montezuma's soul, and then we can go up for the last 2 Enigma souls that are in this section. So the first one is right here next to the geyser. You'll have to follow the flower pot, so you just break each one of the flower pots and it is going to lead you back to the entrance. And then this is honestly kind of the coolest flower pot one. You're basically just going to break all of these and it will eventually lead to something, but it's not going to look like anything at all for a second. So you just keep breaking them, and they are all very close together, so it's not too bad. But you just look up from the top and it says say hi. So you just AC capital H-I, boom, and then you will get the Enigma soul. The next one is going to be back in the right corner of the cave. So if you're coming in from the entrance, then you can just take this right path here, and you will need to have your horse Azuka ready for this one. You'll see this hay right here. Go ahead and grab the horse Zuka, and then you just right click and boom, there's the Enigma soul. All right, well, that's everything from the living cave. So I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And the next section we're going to be doing is Dante fight, but not Dante. It's actually just Bacte. But we're going to be going over that in the Colosseum, and then we will finally be able to go over to the Vampire Slayer area, which is super hype. I'm very excited about that video. But yeah, leave a like and sub if you enjoyed, and also if you like the music, be sure to check that out. There's links in the description there. Plus, we're going to be doing some giveaways in the future on the Discord, linked in the description. So if you want a chance at that, be sure to join there, and I will catch you guys in the next one. God bless.